Hello, everybody, and welcome to this digital open day at the University of Leicester, and specifically to this introduction to economics talk. My name is Jacob, and I'm a lecturer in economics here in the School of Business. And I'm also joined by one of our current students, Abdullah, who you'll hear from a little bit later on to tell you a bit about his student experience here. So the purpose of this talk, about 30 minutes, 35 minutes, is to give you a bit of an overview of what studying economics is like, and specifically what studying economics at the University of Leicester is like, to hear from one of our current students what their experiences have been like here, to highlight really some of the main opportunities that you have here as a student in economics, and then to give you a chance to ask any questions. So please feel free to put any questions that you have into the Q&A so that me and Abdullah can try and answer them as best we can. So here at the School of Business, we are a group of students and academics split into 3 departments. So as economics students, you'll be members of the Department of Economics, Finance and Accounting, and we have colleagues in various areas of business, marketing, innovation, strategy, work, employment and management. And we're a large group, and we approach essentially questions related to business and the economy from a whole range of different perspectives. So we're a very international group of academics, and we are, a diverse group of students, and really something which particularly sets our approach to teaching and, the subject apart is that we have already a very research-driven and student-centered approach to everything that we do here. So as a student here of economics at the University of Leicester, you'll be part of the business school, and the business school lives in the Brookfield campus, which is a dedicated campus specifically for us as business school students and academics. So it's a short walk from the main campus where you have all the facilities that the rest of the students, the library, etc. But this is our dedicated space with teaching rooms, meeting spaces, canteen spaces, the offices of the academics, where we host a lot of social events, and where you have essentially your space to meet with your colleagues, to study in peace and quiet, and make use of a lot of facilities that we have here, including the Bloomberg trading facilities, which are something very specific and unique to the business school. So what I mentioned about the research, so the research culture is something which really goes through everything that we do in the Department of Economics, Finance and Accounting. So we are not the people who will be teaching your courses in economics here at Leicester will not just be teaching the subject, they will also be doing research in the subject, meaning that they're also developing new knowledge in the areas they will be teaching you, meaning that the subject that you'll be learning will be constantly evolving to change with new developments in the field. And this slide really just summarizes some of the recent achievements of the research at the University of Leicester, essentially ranking us very highly and reflecting well on the quality of the research that the staff at the University of Leicester and economics are producing, and that feeds through into all the teaching that we do as well. So it's not a sort of static course, it constantly evolves, and you can see there some of the particular areas of expertise and specialism that the department has, including, for example, behavioral economics, games theory, monetary economics, and others. So this is a little bit, the overall culture of the school. So what is it actually like then to study economics? What is the subject about, and what can you expect as a student of economics here at Leicester? So economics is generally quite difficult to define in a sort of general definition that captures everything. The subject is extremely broad. So some general definitions typically relate to scarcity and allocating scarce resources, or maybe decision making under certain constraints, and how that relates to incentives and regulation. But really a good way to think of economics in terms of the subject matter is that really economics is a very diverse range of subjects. It's really economics is essentially what economists do, and economists use their skills and apply them to a whole range of different questions. So these are questions like how do people make decisions? How do they make decisions on their own and in groups? How do they make decisions over time and in situations of strategic interaction and uncertainty? Social norms, how do those influence choices? Then bigger picture macroeconomic questions, such as why are some countries rich while others remain poor? How can we understand, stabilize and grow economies? What are the long-term effects of Brexit? And how can policymakers use economic analysis to achieve better outcomes for society? So economics is not about how can I make the most money, how can I necessarily get into a particular job. It's really about understanding from a social science point of view a whole range of interactions between people, essentially, in different contexts. And really what economics is then is not really the study of one particular type of subject area. I mean, we cover so many subjects: environmental economics, taxes, you name it. Really what unites economists as a group, as a sort of intellectual discipline, is the methods that we use and the skills that we teach in the economics course. So economics is a social science, meaning that we, the social part, meaning that we are fundamentally interested in human interactions. And the science part, meaning that we approach those questions from a sort of scientific point of view, meaning that we are interested in, formal methods of analysis and proving, statistical relationships in a robust way. And it's those skills and those tools that we teach you that you can then apply to all these different types of questions. And that's what really makes the opinions of economists particularly influential, this sort of analytical approach, and it also makes your degree as economics graduates particularly valuable, as we'll see a little bit later on when you go into the job market after your degree. So many of you may already have some familiarity with the courses that we offer in economics. So we have four different degree names: BSc Economics, Economics and Accounting, Business Economics, and Financial Economics and Banking, and a new fifth one for the upcoming academic year on BSc Economics and Data Analytics. So these degrees, we'll see a little bit that, so one important thing is that they have the same common first year. So the different degree programs specialize, in slightly different areas as you go on through the degree. So if you choose to do economics and accounting, you'll be taking some courses and some modules that give you some accounting some qualifications towards your accounting, your professional accreditations with accounting bodies. Business economics, you'll focus throughout your degree a little bit more on options that come from other areas of the business school, such as marketing. If you study the financial economics and banking, you'll have optional modules later on in the degree which focus more on issues like asset pricing and financial intermediation. So really the choice of these degrees is really a question of which type of subject area you're most interested in. And the important thing is that you're not committed to one or other of these degrees from day one. You will cover the same material in the first year, meaning that you still have the flexibility to change from one program to the other after your first year. So what are some particular perks or advantages of studying economics at Leicester? So the first one that I just mentioned is that you're not going to be tied into your degree from day one. You have some flexibility if you realize that you are actually more interested in the accounting side of things or the financial economic side of things, or you just want to stick to straight economics, focus more on the core theoretical aspects of the subject, then you still have that flexibility in your first year. The subject will be taught by people who are not just teaching, but also researching in the subject, so that you will be, up to date in terms of the content and the material and the applications of the theory that they will be covering. So our graduates do extremely well, although it's nice to study economics on its own. It's an interesting and challenging subject, but it's also, the 3 years go by quite quickly and you'll find yourself applying for jobs. So it's comforting to know that our graduates do extremely well when it comes to progressing to employment or further education after graduation. So I mentioned briefly the Bloomberg trading room. So if you've seen financial news with people in the city looking at about 6 or 12 different computer screens, these are usually Bloomberg terminals, and we have these a set of these Bloomberg terminals in the business school as well, and these allow you to sort of acquire the skills that you need to operate those terminals, which are useful, for your career, for anyone interested in a career in financial services. And you can also use these to download and access a whole range of markets data and microeconomic data for your projects, dissertations, and research while you are here. We have a great careers and employability team and additional opportunities around study abroad in year and industry that I'll talk about a little in a moment. And anyone studying on the economics and accounting pathway will be picking up exemptions from their professional accreditation bodies that will, for anyone going into a career in accounting, will be essentially getting a head start on those professional qualifications that you need. And in terms of the careers and employability, it's sort of Also, it's an important part of our approach that it's not just about getting you in here, putting you in some lectures and some seminars and then setting some exams and then you graduate after 3 years. It's really about preparing you for your future career from day one and thinking about what careers you want to go into and how you can prepare for that. And the study abroad and the industry are some specific examples of opportunities that you can take advantage of in that area. So in terms of what you can do, we saw that the economics graduates do extremely well in terms of progressing into employment and further study. So there's no one career path. So economists don't just go into a career in the city. The skills that you learn as an economics graduate are really extremely transferable and really valued in a whole range of different career paths. Really, any career path will value an economics graduate, because essentially what an economics degree demonstrates is an ability to understand complex subjects, to analyze them systematically, and also to communicate the results of potentially quite complicated analysis in simple in simple terms. And these are skills which are hugely valuable in a whole range of different career paths in the private sector, public sector, charities, any area really. So the main benefit of a degree in economics is really the training and the transferable skills which you pick up, and these are sort of summarized in these sort of bullet points along the that you require more analytical mind, that you learn new tools of analysis that you can apply to a whole range of subjects. You also pick up, of course, a whole an awareness of economic issues, broad range of economic issues. You've seen what happens when economic expertise is ignored, when the government sets a new budget, or it provokes huge it has huge consequences. So understanding how the bond markets work, how fiscal policy works, why the markets crash when we have a mini budget which departs from the usual approach of the government, why that scares the market. So understanding how these issues and how markets work can be very important and sought after skill as well. And in terms of the areas that people go into to apply these skills and this understanding, it does relate to careers in financial services, banking, finance, and of course accountancy, data analysis, and masters and PhD studying a whole range of subjects. There's also a significant demand for economists in the government economic service and a whole range of public bodies, regulators, competition authorities, especially after some areas after leaving the EU. A lot of these skills and competencies are now having to be built up, which were previously shared, have to be built up in the UK again, and that involves a significant hiring of economists to fill out those sort of expert roles when it comes to assessing the competitive effects of a merger, or for example. But there are also a lot of economists working in private companies, in the retail sector. Tesco, all of these supermarkets employ a lot of economists who are interested, in what price, how should we set our prices, even behavioral issues, where do we place our products, how do we advertise them to try and maximize our sales. Economists have a whole lot, of relevant insights into those kinds of subjects. Non-profit organizations, development organizations, World Bank, the NHS, central bank. So a huge range of different, one of my previous students now working at the Bank of England. So there's a huge range of different areas that people go into. So the degree in economics does not limit you in any sense to one particular career or other. It's really a range of transferable skills that you can choose to apply in whichever area or sector is most interesting to you. Of course, there's a lot of demand for commentary analysis in the media and also among consultancies as well. So what does your degree actually look like? So here's a list of modules that you'll be covering in your first year, and these are common across all the 4 degree paths. And then in the second and third years, you'd be going into more specialist subjects. So the degree covers the core subjects that you would expect from a good economics degree, the core areas being microeconomics, macroeconomics, and then the quantitative methods that you will apply, to your analysis in the later years. But we also have this module on contemporary issues in economics, finance, and business, which is really, we don't just teach you the theory that you then have to wait years before you get to apply it. This contemporary issues module in the first year is already a chance to see from the researchers in the department the types of areas that they are applying these, this economic theory to, and that will involve a different lecture each week coming in and explaining the types of questions that they are researching and how the economics theory can be used to understand those issues. So the style of learning, some of you may be familiar if you have siblings or friends who are already at university. So the style of learning is a little bit different. It's more emphasis on independent study. So you attend lectures, which are large group teaching, where you essentially hear what is the content of the course, the knowledge that you need to get out of it, and then you have a chance to practice this in smaller group seminars. And then there's some independent study to sort of consolidate the material that the lecturer has shared with you. Although it's independent study focused, there's always going to be a lot of support. So your lecturers have office hours. There's all kinds of different schemes, through seminars with your tutor, and your lecturer are always going to be available essentially to support you if you get stuck with anything. So even though you are going to be studying more independently, you have the access that you need to get help if you get stuck with anything or you need help preparing for any assessments or exams. So a typical module in economics might have a midterm test and an exam. Other modules, depending on the subject matter, might have an essay or an extended project. So it's quite a varied range of assessments depending on the particular module that is being taught. And in addition to that academic support, you also have access to a whole range of broader well-being support. In terms of, well, on the left we have some, there's a team right from the top, the director of learning teaching, so the program leads, module leaders, a whole range of different teams that are there to support you and your studying. So if there's any circumstances which are affecting your ability to study, that those will be taken into account, and will essentially help you adjust and deal with that, so that you'll be able to get the most out of your degree, and you will not be left alone with anything that's affecting your ability to study. So there's a big range of support, both academic and non-academic, to help you get through those 3 years at university in case you have any issues. So it's an important part of the support that's offered by the university to really help you get through and get the most out of your degree. So careers and employability, I'll mention briefly. So we have an award-winning careers development service. So these are people which is well worth visiting to get an idea of the types of careers that you might be interested in. There's a lot of events that bring employers onto campus and give you the chance to practice talking to employers. Essentially, when it comes to talking to employers and trying to get a job, you need to put your best foot forward, try and impress somebody, and that takes a bit of practice. Pick up a bit of confidence in doing that. It seems unfamiliar at first. So we host a lot of events that bring employers onto campus, and we have a careers hub within the business school campus itself that you can drop in and talk to the careers team to see where you want to go once you leave university. A lot of it is really about planning ahead, that you might want to think about doing an internship after your first year, to go on to longer internship in the second year, and hopefully get a place on the graduate scheme when you graduate. So thinking about these things early is really important in planning ahead, and that's what the careers hub is really there for, to support you on your journey, not just academically, but to see what other how best to prepare your CV, apply for opportunities, so that you'll be able to go into the career that you want. So just to mention then briefly a couple of things that relate more specifically to essentially additional opportunities that you have to in your degree. They're the year in industry and the study abroad. So we'll hear from Abdullah in just a moment, who is one of our returning year in industry students. So these are some of our brightest students who go off to work so it extends the degree from 3 to 4 years, and they work with a whole range of businesses, large businesses, and get a year's worth of work experiences within their degree. They get paid for it, and they get a huge range of relevant skills and experience, which really helps them set themselves apart when it comes to applying for jobs after their they finish their degree. And often it can actually lead on to job offer with the employer who hosted you for that year in industry. So our employers are always extremely impressed with the students that we send off for the year in industry. So this does require some initiative on the part of the students to organize with the support of the careers team, of course, but that's what then makes it such a distinguishing feature that you've demonstrate that initiative to set up this year in industry placement. Similarly, the study abroad can extend your degree from 3 to 4 years and give you the chance to work to study abroad in a different country, which is also a hugely relevant skill these days with large international businesses, which are essentially teams of people cooperating and working together all across the globe. So that's another way to help you distinguish yourself and signal to employers that you have the kind of skills that they need, that you already have the experience of working abroad, potentially picking up or developing your language skills as well. So I mentioned that Abdullah was here, so I'll hand over to Abdullah at this point to give a little bit of the student's perspective on life as an economics student at the University of Leicester, and then when Abdullah's finished, I'll round off the presentation with a little bit more information on how applying for our courses here at Leicester.
Thank you, Jacob. So there are many. So hi everyone, my name is Abdullah. I'm a business economics student, and I've just finished a year in the industry at Centrica. You might know them better as British Gas. So I was working within the technology department, managing software development teams, and also managed an operations team. So since I've come to Leicester, the opportunities which are available, I guess, to a typical business economics or just an ULSV student has really increased a lot in the past few years. And there are, I think, a lot more opportunities now. And I think the career team here is quite fantastic. So you can be a course rep as well, so represent the course and kind of bring changes to the course. So use student feedback to improve your particular course. And then student ambassadors is a great way to kind of gain a lot of great experiences, whether it be presenting, team working skills, communication, things like that, and public speaking as well. So it's another thing I do at the moment, and I think it's a great thing to get involved in. Especially you get a lot more than I think you probably initially think, and it's just a great way to build experience on your CV. And then we have, I think, over 200 societies. So there's a society for everything, whatever you can think of, right? That you probably find it here. You can always start your own society as well, and it's just a great mix. So whether you like sports or you like movies and things like that, I've heard there is a Taylor Swift society. So again, if you're interested, or if you want to start your own, you can always do that. And there's many events, again, with the Festival of Careers, but also kind of social events, which are set up by different societies and the School of Business as well. Now, as a year in the industry student coming back, I do a lot of kind of mentoring, and this is kind of like a great chance for me to give back to the university, but kind of give back everything I've learned over the past few years. And I think the year in the industry is quite crucial, especially going into a competitive job market. So I'd urge everyone to apply, and you'll get a lot of support. I got a mentor who really helped me get one, and the careers team here is quite fantastic because they give you a course which kind of breaks down each aspect of the application process, whether it's like CVs, cover letters, or how to even just kind of do a good interview, how to make sure you excel in the assessment center. So all the help is there for students, and I think that's quite valuable, especially for people taking advantage of it. And I think the most important thing you guys probably want to know is kind of what has it been like for me as a student here. So I think, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot more kind of opportunities in general, and this is kind of increasing year on year in terms of how to build your CV, how to kind of get involved and develop yourself. But outside of that, there's a lot of kind of social events set up by societies as well. And I think with the course, especially in my second year, I had a module which was applied econometrics, where we learned a bit of programming, we learned 2 different languages, and I just seen today I seen a job which was focusing on that particular language. So it's really great for us to learn these languages which are quite in demand, especially in the industry. So I think that's something quite unique, and the Bloomberg terminals are quite useful for those who are interested in finance. You can just come here, it's always open. You can come in and use the software and just do kind of your research and analysis. So I think that's something definitely which is quite unique and something very useful for those who are interested in finance. So in terms of, I guess for me, I find the fact that it's quite a diverse university, and I've had friends from all over the world, whether it be kind of from America or Europe or Asia, and I feel like just meeting all of these people really helps you broaden your perspective on the world and helps you learn kind of different cultures, and I think that's quite important, and that's definitely represented in this university, and you get a lot more kind of knowledge share than you would otherwise, where I think there isn't that much of diversity. So I think that's another great thing over here. So I will hand it back to Jacob, and then I believe there will be questions at the end. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Abdullah, for that interesting insight. And yeah, I would really encourage anyone who has questions about what Abdullah's experience has been like at Centrica, or studying modules here at Leicester, meeting people, societies, to just go ahead and ask your questions in the Q&A. So just to wrap up, hopefully you've seen some of the the real advantages that a degree in economics from Leicester can give you, as well as having a great time while studying here. So the application process is quite standard. So you apply through UCAS, and so the economics degree, it's it's a highly valued degree with employers. Like we said, it teaches a lot of relevant and highly transferable skills. So when we we ask for these entry levels, it's really about making sure that the students that we recruit onto the degrees are equipped to really to excel and to do well in those programs. So what we ask for is ABB in terms of A levels, with GCSE level 5 in maths. But there's a whole different range of qualifications that you might come in with, and all of them will be looked at by the admissions team. So I'd really encourage anyone who has any questions to get in touch, but otherwise to consider putting Leicester Economics down as one of your applications in economics. So just to summarize, what are the main takeaways? Really, what is it about Leicester and economics that make it such a great opportunity? So it's a highly ranked university. The students that we recruit here, they're great students. They do extremely well in the course, and they go on to great careers and to do great things in their future employment, studies, what have you. So it's a highly respected university, reflected in the quality of the research, the rankings in the league tables. And Leicester's also a great place to live. I mean, this is something you can also potentially ask the student perspective on from Abdullah, but the city has a lot going on, but it also has a mixture of extreme. It's a big city, but it also has some quiet areas when you need to get some work done, essentially. So it's a really nice place to live. It's affordable. It's a nice the campus is nice. It's around a nice park. So for those of you who have the opportunity, it might be nice to have and who are interested, to come and have a look around our new Brookfield campus, and also the surrounding areas, the main campus and the park, etc. So yeah, these are really the main takeaways to emphasize. So we offer high quality degrees which cover all the main sort of areas that you would expect from an economics degree, and they are taught by research active staff who are kind of constantly evolving the material that they teach to keep up to date with the discipline as it's evolving. So we offer a lot of support when you transition to university. You'll find a lot more emphasis on independent study, but like I mentioned, there's a whole network of support to guide you through your academic skills. Also through the library, for example, there's the careers advice to help you, for example, think about an industry placement or how to get an internship that might lead on to the employment offer in the future. And also sort of on the well-being side, if there's anything causing stress that's affecting your ability to study, there's also support available there to make sure you're in a good place that you can get the most out of your degree. So we recruit great students. So if you are one of our students, you'll be part of a great network. That network will stay with you after graduation as well. And the programs that we offer are really interesting and diverse in terms of you can choose to study straight BSc economics, but there are also opportunities to combine your study of economics with another specialism, for example, in accounting, or to focus more on the financial economics and banking as well. If you study on the accounting side, you'll pick up a range of exemptions that will, give you some shortcuts towards your professional accreditations. And all of them essentially will also have the flexibility that you'll not be committed to your degree program from day one, because they all share the common first year. You have the option also to switch programs after your first year. So this was quite a quick review of the offer at the University of Leicester. So now I'm happy to open it up to any questions that anyone might have. We can go into more detail on any of the topics that were raised, and Abdullah is also here to help me answer any questions which may be more directed at the student experience here.
Hi Jacob.
Please.
We do have a few questions. What does a typical day look like for an economics student?
Okay, maybe I'll ask Abdullah if you want to go first, maybe on this one.
Yeah, so usually we have around 3 to mostly 4 kind of lectures a week, and we usually have a day off depending on your timetable. So it'd be either like a 9 o'clock lecture or like a 10 o'clock lecture for 2 hours, and then you have a break for 1 or 2 hours, and then you might have 1 seminar or 2 seminars. But it really kind of varies depending on what day. So some days I have maybe 1 lecture and 1 seminar. Some day I have kind of more full. It's kind of like it's really around timetabling, and then I'll do the lecture, and then after that I'd probably, if it's near lunchtime, have lunch and then go over my lecture notes, revise that, and then attempt the seminar before the next week's seminar. And seminars usually start a week after or 2 weeks after the lecture has started. And then we also have office hours, so if I'm confused about something, then I would go to the office hours and ask the lecturer any questions we have. But there's a lot of kind of social space, so I kind of do chill out a lot with my friends as well in the ULSP hub. Just get kind of talk about the course, or just talk about anything, I guess, non-course related in general. But I think that's how a typical day for me would look like.
Yeah. See, another question that's popped up is how are modules assessed? So this is something I can answer maybe. So as you go through your degree, you'll be studying, maybe 3 or 4 modules per semester, and those modules are each assessed on their own sort of basis. And then as you progress through second year and particularly third year, the results of those modules are kind of averaged out to determine your overall degree classification. And each module will have its own assessment, and you'll have 1 grade per module. So a typical module in economics might have a midterm test halfway through, where we check up on the material up to that point, see how you're getting on, help you get some feedback on any areas that you're struggling with, and then a final exam at the end. So this is quite a common format, but there are other modules. For example, in the first year, the contemporary issues module focuses on applications, and that is one where you really explore these different topics that you're introduced to through group work, group projects, and presentations. So this is a whole different kind of skill that's being assessed that introduces you to the economics and the economic subject matter, but also trains you in those transferable skills of working in groups, presentations. These are really fundamentals of any job that you go into. You're never really working by yourself. You're always working as part of a team. You're always going to be preparing reports, preparing presentations. So we also, integrate those kinds of skills that you need from your degree from day one. And then there might be dissertation modules, which are based on a single longer piece of work. So essentially, the assessment is spread across a whole range of different modules, and within a module, typically across multiple assessments. So you're not just going to, turn up after 3 years, sit 1 very long exam to see how you got on. It really builds up over time, gives you a chance to make any adjustments that you need, if to your study routines, for example, get any extra support you need to keep on track for the results that you want. And so in terms of one-to-one time, essentially, there are office hours that are offered as part of as part of every module, which allow you to have, to go in and meet your lecturer, or your seminar tutor, and ask them any questions that you're struggling with. So those office hours are there for you to take advantage of, across for each module. It will be, I think, 2 hours per week, but your lectures will also be available to talk to you after the class, if you meet them in the hub, things like that. So the time's really there. In fact, from my point of view of the lecture, we are happy when the students come to us to ask us questions. It shows they are engaged, and there's not really any major limit on the amount of contact that you can get and support that you can get. I don't know if Abdullah wants to add anything to that in terms of the assessments that how you find different types of assessment, different modules, and how you found getting in touch with academics and the kind of support that you were able to get from them.
I think in terms of, I guess, support, pretty much I think all of the lectures that I've gone to for office hours are very receptive. I guess just don't go right when it's about to end, but most of them are very receptive. And then even when I was not able to meet in those office hours, I'd drop them an email to see if there's any other times they could potentially be free and we could talk about it. So that was, I think, quite useful. And it's never that I've gone into an office hour and they kind of expect me to know what I'm asking, or it's always they're always friendly to help. And I think it really, as Jacob mentioned, shows engagement. It's very useful that I've found, especially to kind of clear any queries I've had. And then I guess in terms of assessment and modules, there is, I guess, a mix of different types of examination, and that's dependent on the module leader and how the module is marked. But there's a mix of essay, kind of writing, group work, and also just kind of pure exams. So it's a good mix, and depending on what your strengths are, you will be able to experience everything and get better at it. And there's especially a lot of marks as well that you can refer to, and you can get your lecturer to mark and give you feedback. So I think that is something which is, again, very useful for any students who are thinking of that. Thank you, Jacob.
Yeah, so a couple more questions. So one, what kind of things should I get involved with prior to applying to university? So maybe this relates a bit to, often people are unsure whether they need to have studied economics at A level in order to go on to study economics at university. So there's no requirement to study economics at A level. So it's not, it can be a very helpful thing to do in the sense that you get an understanding of what the subject is about. But if you've not studied economics at A level, it's not a problem. Essentially, when you come in to your degree in economics, you might find that some of the concepts are familiar, but the way in which we study those concepts might be a little bit different, because when we studied at university, we are introducing slightly more analytical approach, those transferable skills that I mentioned. We basing our analysis of marginal utility, for example, or anything that concepts like that on a more mathematical representation of the issue, and that's really what then that's what your degree builds up over time, those analytical skills. So it's not essential that you've studied economics at A level at all. I think really coming in, being prepared and interested in the subject is the main thing, and being prepared to work hard from first year. There's another question related to what support is available for me to find a placement for a year in industry. So I know that the career service does work with students to help them find a placement, but there's also a bit of some onus on the students to take the lead with that, and that's, I would say, both an advantage and a disadvantage. So it doesn't mean that every student be guaranteed a placement, but on the other hand, that's what makes it such a valuable thing to do, that by arranging and showing that initiative to arrange a year in industry placement, that really is a strong signal that you have taken the initiative and organized your placement and been involved with the organization of it from the beginning. But maybe I'll let Abdullah potentially add any thoughts on his experience and now as a mentor, also helping other people, on how that process works.
I feel that there is a lot of support. It depends on really how much each person takes advantage of it, especially with the undergrad module that everybody is rolled on, and it has kind of a course on how to write CV, cover letter, and especially the mentoring scheme, which is a returning mentor like myself for mentor second years and looking for placements and give our advice. We also have something called the My Skills Portfolio, which we've just launched, which is a tool that we made to help students identify, capture, and talk about their skills properly in CVs. That also has tutoring as well. So this support is out there, and you can obviously book CV appointments with the central career team as well. So there is a lot of support, but again, it's just about being showing resilience when you kind of get rejected, because I think that's bound to happen, especially in this search, and something I experienced. But being resilient and being focused will really help you get that placement. So I think I feel there is enough support for students.
Thanks, Abdullah. So let's see, there's some more questions here. So what about careers? So what careers can I go into if I study economics? So I mentioned briefly, I think economics is not tied to any particular career as such. I think people imagine that as an economics graduate, you have to go into the city, you have to want to work in a bank or something, but it's not like that. Economists, go into politics, they go into, charity work. There's a whole range of different subjects where, understanding complicated, interactions and being able to apply an analytical mindset to understanding them are hugely valuable. So, we had some examples of different types of careers, so accounting, central banks, investment banking, but also private sector firms. So really the main thing, and that's in a sense quite comforting, that you have a lot of flexibility by studying economics in terms of which career you might want to go into. It's really a sort of an analytical mindset and a set of skills that you pick up, which you can then choose to apply to any sector that you might want to go into. And we've heard Abdullah talk about his time at Centrica, British Gas. So that's you won't necessarily be deriving and analyzing functions as you did in economics, but you'll be guaranteed to be confronted with some challenging problems which require you to organize yourself, to plan your time, to think logically, and then present your results in a clear way to the people that you are working with. And it's that the experience of studying economics which essentially gives you the skills to be able to do that, and that's why employers really value our economics graduates. So I think that's the last of the questions, unless anyone has any last question they would like to ask, or Abdullah has any last thoughts you want to share. If not, then I'd say thank you very much for your time. It's been great to have you here. I hope that you've discovered something new about Leicester, the University of Leicester, and studying economics here. And the last slide had an email address on it, ulsb@le.ac.uk. So if you have any questions for us, please feel free to use that email address to send them to us. Otherwise, from me and from Abdullah and everyone here, thank you very much for your time, and all the best, and have a nice evening.